Welcome back to Some Bolts podcast about technology, life, philosophy, and everything in between. It is Saturday, April 5th, 2025. This is your host, Muskrat, along with co-hosts Mongoose and Dubstench.
What is this? What are we doing here?
It is the spring check-in where we discuss a variety of topics, including the recent claim of structures under the Central Pyramid in Giza. The Year of the Snake continues on as the solar activity picks up. Email the show at packetsandbolts@gmail.com, packetsandbolts@gmail.com, follow us in Discord, Mastodon, whatever else is out there. I think we're on Blue Sky. I keep forgetting.
Does anybody do Blue Sky anymore?
Yeah, there's some people on there. All right, what's been going on? Last episode was... Who
are you guys? It's been a while.
Yes, it is.
Good to see a Muskrat, Dubstench.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, this discussion about when we get to talking about the pyramids, kind of goes along with the Coral Castle interview that I did about, was that a month ago now? So, this is always some new stuff. Who is the one that said that the secrets to the pyramids and the Sphinx and everything would not be like... It just continues to come out. The secrets never stop. Who knows how many ancient things are held in those deserts?
Yeah, so let's just pause for a minute. I have a question. I think it has something to do with etymology, but does sphincter have something to do with the Sphinx?
I don't know.
I don't think they're related.
No?
I don't know. I'd have to look into that.
That's a serious question.
Yeah, I'd have to look into that. Sphincter,
okay.
Sphinx. Mm-hmm. I think they might be from two different origins too, so I'm not sure.
Wouldn't that be funny? Like they did mean the same thing, and they turned the head on the Sphinx to a balloon knot.
It kind of looks like one now with all the erosion.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Yeah. So a lot of these stories we've got have been gathered for so long. They're no longer really relevant, but there were some updates to some older stories. So if anyone knows about the Leinenkugel brewery, the Milwaukee, what's it called? Miller Coors or whatever the hell it's called now, the conglomerate, basically shut down the brewery. And so that's kind of old news.
We need antitrust for beer companies.
Well, yes, that is true. That is true. But the Leinenkugel brothers offered to buy it, and last I heard, it was turned down. If there was ever a case for eminent domain from the local municipality, it's for this. They should seize that property and give it back to someone that's going to run it as a brewery, because basically Miller shut it down. And I was there for the brewery tour a couple years ago. It's a pretty sweet place.
So Leinenkugels is no more?
It's a brand that exists in Milwaukee, and they make it all in Milwaukee now. They shut down the original brewery.
Yeah. It's bullshit.
I know.
Have you ever toured that brewery?
Yeah. A couple years ago, yeah.
See, I've only been to the Miller Brewery. Several times.
Yeah.
We used to go through multiple times in a row and try to get drunk.
Just off the
Well, they don't give you much beer on that tour.
No, they give you 4 little flutes of different types of beers at the end.
Yeah, here's a tapper glass.
But then you go through again, and by the time you get through, your buzz wears off, so you start getting belligerent as you're going through, hurry the fuck up!
Well, we had some ones included with the tour, and then you could just buy more, and it was an open bar, so it was fun. It was fun. All right. Let's see here. Oh man, this is from 2 months ago. I don't know about that one. Let's see. Where is the one that I'm looking for here?
Yeah, this is difficult because we're going off a news channel from January.
Yes, we never updated the thing.
This is old news. It's not all old news.
Okay, so this one is kind of going along with what we're going to talk about today. Ancient-origins.net, and I don't know what's going on with this. Bizarre finding of a Swiss ring watch in a sealed Ming Dynasty tomb. So there is some little ring that looks like a watch that looks like a Swiss watch from a sealed Ming Dynasty tomb. Now,
it's the Ring of Power.
It could be, but one might wonder how this happened, and what if the Swiss got their designs from finding ancient Chinese watches? Dun dun dun.
Maybe it's inspired. It's Chinese inspired.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's
Could
pretty.
be. That
pretty
reminds me of. I mean, it's not like totally related, but I remember listening. You know, Art Bell. Shout out to Art Bell, the late Art Bell, right? Coast to Coast AM. I remember years ago they had on this guy called Robert Ghostwolf, and he was an Indian archaeologist, or Native American, I should say, and he said that they found Roman coins in Indian burial mounds that dated far before Christopher Columbus landed in the Americas, or any other European researcher.
I think Vikings would have been
Yeah.
first, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, that for sure. But yeah, there was trade going on before the modern day. Of course, they'll never admit that because that destroys.
Why don't we fix our goddamn history? It's really annoying.
For some reason, they're worried that if we find out that society's older than what they say, they feel like they're going to lose control or something. I'm not really sure.
That, yeah, I think there's something to that. That could almost be a whole other podcast on its own. Kind of like with the poles shifting, you know, the whole world kind of has to start over, civilization has to start over. It's happened before. Well, if they admit that mankind or civilization is older and they've had to go through this,
Yeah.
how do you think the public will react if they're like, you know what, every so many thousands of years, this planet gets wiped the hell out. There's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
It'll turn into absolute chaos. If you
It might.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Dub Stinks, because I've been thinking, you know, I live in the deserts of Wisconsin, but I was going to buy a surfboard.
Because of the oceans.
Well,
coming?
I want to learn how to surf because if the poles flip, I'm thinking I could catch a gnarly wave.
That's right. Yeah, we're gonna be in prime real estate. It's already happening. We're already one of the places to be in the U.S.
We're close to, well, where projected land changes that Lake Michigan would be pretty close to where we are.
Hopefully, it doesn't wipe us out. We'll see. Yeah, because depending on the maps you look at, where the Angels gave those people the new maps of the United States, we may be safe, we may be underwater. I don't know.
But I think you're not going to be thinking about surfing or taking up a new hobby at that time.
The Mississippi River is going to become like an inland sea too. So then that's going to take part of Wisconsin. So we got two places that we could get flooded from.
Or it'll just all be flash frozen.
Oh yeah, we could get frozen
But you're right.
too.
Every single map shows that we're safe. Like
Depending where we are.
I saw a map of like if, for instance, like China and Russia, like nuclear holocaust. Like
be toast.
if they targeted all of our missile installations, then we would be in the path of some of the fallout, but it wouldn't be that bad.
No.
Oh, we don't have missile installations, so we have other shit they want to
Even
bomb.
if they hit like Chicago, like it's kind of getting dicey.
Yeah.
It'd be based on a little bit of the wind, but we'd
Well, the wind pattern's all kind of like, you know, northeast.
You got to head to the hills, man.
Yeah.
Got to head to the hills.
or underground.
I mean, it's the stuff in North and South Dakota where they would bomb that, you know, the fallout might reach us there. But yeah, we have stuff around here that maybe they're like, oh, government contractors, let's bomb them too, and then we're fucked. And when that happens, I just hope that the burst is right overhead.
Well, I don't think that's going to happen. To get a nuke this far inland without our counter measures like catching it,
don't count on
No.
Don't count on anti-ballistics or nukes.
Yeah, we still got to finish that book, but we don't have enough like we could catch like a handful of their missiles, and meanwhile
Possibly.
hundreds more would get through.
Yeah.
Well, firing hundreds of nukes, like this whole planet is jacked up.
Well, yeah, we're already
Who
screwed.
cares?
Who cares?
That's it. We're done.
But, you know, listening
right.
to some of the news in the cycle, I'm thinking like this world needs a cleansing.
It's on its way, man. We'll get into that later. All right. Amnesty.org, but that's not the full website. securitylab.amnesty.org. I always said that we need to have an episode strictly for if you're like a journalist in a rogue nation or whatever, how you protect yourself. But anyways, celebrate zero-day exploit used to target phone of Serbian student activist. And this is from February of 2025. As you know, Celebrate's one of the, several tools out there that is used to hack people's phones, usually activists, journalists, etc. And I thought I had the article up, but I don't, and I'm not going to try to find it now. There were like several major vulnerabilities that Graphene OS was advertising that they were immune to just by nature of their hardening techniques in their OS. So that is something that everyone needs to be aware of. If you're if you're an activist, if you're a journalist, if you're thinking about doing whistleblowing, you need to not be using iPhones, Androids that are normal, or you need to take extreme measures to protect yourself from that, because there's so many ways to get into those systems. All right. We will get a show on that. Sometime.
And the other thing to take away from that is if you think that you're secure, don't advertise it, because then you just put a target on your back and you're not as secure as you thought you were.
I'm so secure. Bet you guys can't crack into my shit. Oh yeah, let me see.
Well, the big thing is even if you're doing even if you're using secure things, then you have your whole SecOps. So how much is your day-to-day activity really protected? Again, most people don't have to worry about it, but if you're in these dangerous situations, then you really need to be thinking about all of that. All right.
We got to do a podcast about secure smartphones. So there's several companies that are releasing some. I think one's called the Unhackable phone. It was created by
There's one.
by the former Pegasus spyware people. Which is probably full of spyware. But just saying.
That would be my thing, my guess. All right. Also from February 27th, 2025, a rare parade of all 7 planets will move across the night sky this week. So this already happened, but if you've been looking around, I know. But if you've been looking around, the planets have been all over the place and lining up, creating more of the cosmic conjunction that is maybe leading towards maybe end times. I'm just saying. I don't.
Don't these planets like all light up? Like I feel like it's happened more than once in my lifetime.
But there's always something special about
but
it.
Nothing ever happens.
There's a bunch of stuff.
When
happening.
he said conjunction, did you think, "What's my function"?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
conjunction. All right, so this phenomenon known as the Planet Parade or a Planet Parade will feature Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune all visible at the same time along a line or arc in the sky, and NASA says.
Uranus.
Yes, Uranus. Though
Uranus.
Planet Parade is not an official astronomical term, go figure. It typically refers to when 4 or more planets are seen together in the sky. So this was major, and this is for boating, I would say.
Now, what's going on? Muskrat, you were saying earlier that we're going to get zapped by like a giant solar storm.
Yes. So
what should we expect?
Continuing, we've been already being hit by multiple storms. Now, did you hear about that one? Was it Detroit or no, Philadelphia? Where was the power plant caught on fire? Or was it, London? They brought down an airport because there was a power plant failure. It started on fire. And I don't know if that's caused by the solar flares, but there's been power plants going offline all across the world. And we've been getting a lot of solar activity.
It's probably some dude smoking a cigarette.
I mean,
I used to work security, and I did the rounds one day, and there was some guy smoking a cigarette in the plant, and I just looked at him, and he looked horrified, and I thought, I'm going to go check this little sensor here. When I get back, if you're there, you're going to get fired. And he was gone, so I wrote up the whole plant, and he didn't get fired.
You wrote up the whole...
But you diluted your authority.
Yeah, I said there was an employee there smoking. I don't know who he was. He escaped. So I wrote up the whole plan.
It was an inside job, man.
When I was a guard once, and I came through on my rounds, and there was a whole bunch of people in the paper area where all this like old paper was, and multiple people in fork trucks or forklifts and all this stuff. And when I came through, all of a sudden they all just like hauled ass out of them. Like, what the fuck are they doing? Were they like doing a game with forklifts? And then they saw me and they all just drove off. It was like insane. And it's like, whatever, man. I just gotta do my rounds. Yeah.
You used to work at a shit plant too, Muskrat, didn't you?
Yeah.
Turd factory?
Yep. Securing those shit plants.
He took us on a tour, and they were like...
That's when I found out
there were shit screws.
That's when I found out...
You remember
the
those?
Archimedes screws? That's an Archimedes invention.
Did you get to visit the gift shop afterwards for some souvenirs?
Oh, there was gifts all over the place. All right. So
yeah, there were condoms in the shit.
Oh
everywhere.
yeah. Tampons, no.
Twinkies in the fudge.
That's when I found out that security wasn't always about security. It was sometimes about doing things that they probably shouldn't have been having security people do.
Shit runs downhill at that place.
That's true. That is true. All right. So like I said, there's multiple power outages. I don't know if it's related to the solar flares, but it's very possible. And then in the next week and a half, the sun is pointing a very active region right at us. So if a major flare, because we've already had some near misses, it was pointing away from us where it had some blasts, massive blasts. But we've been getting blasted in the face for the last month or so.
Just wipe it off and move on.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And just look at Uranus.
Yes, look at Uranus. So, did you hear about asteroid 2024 YR4, which could hit Earth in 7 years? I think that's been talked about. That was from February. So just another thing to put in the list of
they keep
things that could take us out.
Time too.
Now, the one date that never changes, they keep saying 2027 is the year we're all fucked. So
2027 is now?
We're not guaranteed fucked.
Okay, I've also heard the 30s, like 2034. I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's just like Y2K, year 2000, we're all done. And it was 2012 because the Mayans said so.
Yeah, but then someone claimed a miscalculation. I can't remember what they updated the date to. I don't remember.
Well, there's 300 years that never happened.
What king? There's some
What are we
king
talking
or
about?
something that wiped.
We're talking about the Middle Ages, or I got yelled at one time by a history professor for calling it the Dark Ages.
Oh, yes, don't do
I
that.
hate that. Don't talk to history professors and say Dark Ages. But no, there's a period between, I forget the exact dates, but it's the 7th century and the 600s through the 9th century that there's no historical evidence that those years actually happened.
What do you mean?
Well, the Holy Roman Emperor, the Pope, and then some other European leaders around that time, they had certain things to gain. And so the conspiracy theory is that they just added those years in later on.
It was like a tax thing or something, wasn't it? Or some monetary thing?
Well, there were a lot of pros from their perspective, a lot of motives for them to do this. Yeah.
It's evil.
So look into it. I mean, we're not prepared to talk in
I've
depth
heard
about that
something
now,
about. Yeah, I've heard something about like years missing and
obviously with the Vatican councils, they changed the calendars a bunch of times. So I mean, we don't exactly know when the Mayan calendar is actually supposed to be up.
But there's history from the 600, 700, 800. Like there's things that have happened. And the Chinese didn't go along with that. And the Chinese have the longest running history that we can. Them in the in India.
I don't know.
So I guess we'd have to cross-reference everyone's dates and try to line it up. All right.
I mean, in Europe, everybody was a fucking idiot back then. It's like the only people that knew how to read were like the monasteries.
Well, they wouldn't have missed it, but that's not the point. Oh, shit. All right. The New York Post. We went blind after using weight loss drugs like Ozempic and Monjaro, whatever the hell. I don't know, man.
Went blind?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that could probably help because you can't see food.
Yeah. Yeah, all I can tell you is injecting stuff to make you not eat. You could just not eat, and if that's what you're trying to do.
Someone tell me that there's some is it a blood pressure medication or something else that is getting pretty slim pickings because you could use it as an appetite suppressant. And people are using it for weight loss.
Okay.
Well, and there's blood pressure medications that's it's amazing because they develop them for one thing and they find out later on that it works for this too. So anxiety medication, there's some anxiety meds that are that they were originally developed as blood pressure medication.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Okay, that's because they're just fucking around in the lab, just trying anything that can stick.
Now, speaking of Ozempic, I had a coworker venting at me the other day about how fat people were in Texas. And his comment was, "We need an airdrop of Ozempic on this bitch." I thought it was pretty funny.
He's got some solutions.
Did he live in Texas?
He lives in Texas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, when I was driving through Texas, man, it was one of the worst states. Now I'm sure there's nice parts of Texas, but the parts I saw was just massive fields of cow shit. And Wisconsin's got cows, but not like this, man. It was disgusting, and the stench. Just cow shitting, it's just fucking black fields of turds just fucking running. It was the most nasty. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? All right. Diply.com, Diply, 3 deadly side effects of vaping revealed in world first study as doctors warn it could be worse than smoking. Now, go figure. Inhaling a bunch of toxic, made up chemicals might be worse than smoking. And this is from 3 weeks ago. So a new study is shaking things up, saying vaping might actually be worse for your health than smoking cigarettes.
Because I tried vaping over smoking for a while, and it made my throat and lungs feel kind of weird. I don't know. I'd rather just have a real cigarette.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at today.
There you go.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say, in my experience, it's way more inflammatory for the lungs than a cigarette.
Yeah, and for years people thought vaping was less bad because it supposedly had fewer toxins. But look at the shit they put in that stuff, man.
Well, there's a lot of kids that, it affects people differently, right? But there's a lot of kids that have popcorn lung and are on ventilators and oxygen
it's so gross.
at a young age because they can't put the vape pen down.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's also, vaping makes it easier to overdo nicotine, this says. Uh-huh.
But nicotine can be good for you.
Nicotine by itself could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, but all the other shit. All right. Yep. Vaping weakens artery walls. So now you're just going to have people dying earlier could harm brain function.
And then they can blame the vaping and not the vaccine.
Dun, dun, dun. I'm sure it's all.
Wait, is there a vapable form of the vaccine?
That's what they should do.
Should I ask you?
They're having so many problems getting people to take the vaccine. That's what should on here. Here's your COVID-19 vaccine vape pen.
So,
Didn't they offer like the aerosol up the nose at one point?
I thought that was deemed to be bad, not good for you.
That would normally be a live virus then, where instead of RNA, they wouldn't be able to do. Yeah.
I listened to a really good podcast the other day. I'll have to find the name. He's an Asian researcher, and he was talking about the effects of the spike proteins.
Oh, yeah.
And he was talking specifically about how the mRNA vaccine got approved, and his research firm was trying to push a vaccine that would create T cells.
Okay.
And so he maintains, and then the government shut him down, and he doesn't know why.
Well, why wouldn't you want that?
But he's never gotten COVID, he said, because he took his own vaccine.
So what did
and he claims it's because I got a lot of T cells.
So how does it work different? It didn't use mRNA?
So the T cells are part of the immunoresponse, but when you have massive amounts of inflammation, the body can turn T cells into suppressor cells. And he likens the COVID virus, or lots of viruses, very similar to like carcinogens or like cancer cells.
Okay.
So in normal operation, and you got to realize, and you're aware, right, that in any given day, there's cancerous cells in our body, and our immune response defeats them. Like any given day, you have thousands of cancer cells pop up, and your body defeats them. But when you have such high levels of inflammation, your body is turning T cells into suppressor cells, and you can't fight it, and it just lingers on. And he said the biggest problem with the mRNA vaccine is that it doesn't clear the virus from the system, and it lingers, and that's the cause of long COVID. He's saying, like, his vaccine and what he claims, we'll have to talk about.
So his wasn't a spike protein?
Yeah.
Okay. What was it? Just a normal one? Or?
Yeah, he was saying the spike protein actually helps create inflammation. And
Well, yeah. Yeah, that's why for years they couldn't get him to work, because it would kill the people or the animals they gave it to. Yeah, it normally caused runaway inflammation. That's why I was trying to get the Johnson & Johnson one, which was put on pause before the day I took it, and then I just ended up getting the normal ones, and they got it out of pause. And I'm like, motherfucker.
Which one's that? Is that the one that's just one?
That's one and done.
That's the one I got before.
Yeah, and that's the one I was trying to get, and they shut it down, and then they brought it back, but I had already gotten vaccinated.
We're all fucked.
Yeah.
We're all gonna get elbow and eyelash cancer.
So so I'd have to look into his, but I know like Cuba has a good COVID vaccine that's just a normal. I don't know what the.
Does they got vaccine gummies?
But yeah, they should have vaccine gummies.
Gummies
I'd take
and
those.
vapes.
I'd take those.
Now, statistically, didn't the United States have one of the highest per capita death rates from COVID in the entire world?
We had a high one, but we also have an unhealthy population.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's that.
It just goes to the point about inflammation, though.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I got it for real before anything. And so I normally would not have done a vaccine, even if I thought the vaccine was fine, because getting it is better protection than getting a vaccine. But because of the stupid everyone pushing you to get it, I decided to fucking
Well,
get it.
and do you remember, like, there were people saying, hey, if I get the virus, I don't need the vaccine. And then there was all this public pushback. Like,
I know.
No, that's not good enough.
I know. It's stupid. It's like against everything that's ever been taught.
Crazy.
They just made up shit. Anyways.
PSYOP.
Yeah, it was. But, yeah, so it was worse the first time I had it. But then I didn't get it again until I got the vaccine. Oh, that's kind of weird. And then that's like every time I got it was after the vaccine.
Yeah, and every time I got the vaccine, it made me feel like shit for a day. But then I didn't really actually get COVID until actually I got vaccinated.
Yeah.
Like up until then, I never got it.
Yeah. All right. Fortune.com. Some Jeep owners are being hit with pop-up ads inside their cars, and it's all part of Stellantis' plan to make an extra $20 billion a year. So now we got to look at fucking ads in our cars, even if you're buying the damn thing. I'm telling you, man, we're going to be living in idiocracy. And this is from February 13th this year. So we're not going to have any peace from ads, man. And my Roku, which I love, I have a dedicated Roku, and now they're starting to slip it in. So every once in a while when I turn on, before I can do anything, this random ad plays, and the normal navigation doesn't work, and I'm confused in the beginning because I'm like, how do I get off this? Like hitting home doesn't do anything, but there is a close button, and so I have to hit enter. But it like takes me by surprise, and I'm just trying to like, did I click something wrong? And it's just taking over the screen. It's like, what the fuck is going on here? It's just shoving ads everywhere, man.
Yeah, the ads, you can't escape them. YouTube videos, like you're stuck watching those, like every. Dude,
I hate $40 a month or whatever they charge for that.
Yeah, I'll watch a 15-minute YouTube video and like I'll get 4 1-minute ads that pop up.
It's insane.
And they always pop up at the worst fucking part of the video that I have to rewind. Like, because it breaks the.
Correct.
So I think the whoever puts the video out on YouTube, they can kind of select.
They can try
where the commercials will land. But yeah, some of them like they seem to make sense, like you went on TV, where others they're like guys in mid sentence and then there's not a commercial. But
yeah, sometimes I swear it's happening within 2 minutes.
They're different though. So if I'm doing it on like my PlayStation and watching YouTube, there's different commercials and different lengths, but it'll give me the option to skip it after like 5 seconds.
Sometimes that happens. Yep.
Now on another TV, I use a Chromecast and stream from my phone, and those. They're different commercials and they're inherently shorter, but there isn't a skip option.
Oh, I hate that. Yeah, and I can block ads depending on what I'm looking at them with, but it's very annoying. Very annoying.
Now, similarly, didn't we just talk the other day about the NFL season coming up and all the how they're farming out games to streaming services?
You mentioned it.
Christmas Day.
It's getting bad.
There's 2 Christmas Day games that are now farmed out to Netflix. So if you don't have a Netflix subscription, you can't watch those 2 games. And then that night, the night game on Christmas Day, Amazon Prime. If you don't have a Prime subscription.
Fucking Prime.
Of course, the last couple of years,
I canceled it.
There's select games that are only shown on Peacock.
No, I have
Good
Peacock.
emphasis there, man.
You have Peacock
now because of whatever the fuck I got it for. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, you got to put all these damn streaming things together. It's going to cost as much as cable.
Well, that's why I'll actively subscribe to like maybe 2 or 3 at a time, and I'll shuffle them out. So if I want to get another one, I'll cancel another one for that month. And
see, I still think Netflix has the best navigation, so I've always kept Netflix. But I wish some of those other apps would improve their damn fucking app. It's such garbage.
I've been off of Netflix for 7 months now. It's like a drug. I've been off it for 7 months. They email me. They're like, "You've been gone for 7 months. Come back."
You want a free hit? You want a free hit of something here? No, I switch off. Like usually, like Netflix and Hulu, I'll flip back and forth between the two. And then some of them I'll keep like Disney Plus and Prime. I'll keep all the time.
Yeah, I don't do Disney. I got rid of
I got
that.
all the Marvel stuff, so that's why I'm way into that. And all the Simpsons episodes.
You guys gonna go see Snow White?
No.
Did you hear that bomb? Bomb.
I'm not 5.
No, it was the new live action.
I think that must be mine. My website started playing.
I was gonna say, what was that?
It's pretty. It's pretty music. It's better.
No, I would never have watched that. Also, why is everyone doing? What the fuck is that again?
Oh, it's me that time.
Oh, okay. What is why is Disney doing live action versions of all their animated shit? Like, dude, it was a masterpiece of animation, and then they go and create some live action.
Milk it for some more cash.
Well, so like I think where they went wrong with Snow White was number one, they couldn't get actual little people. They had to do CGI because what's his name? The guy from
That's
Game
what
of
everyone's
Thrones.
saying. But he wasn't actually making the point not to hire little people. He was saying that they shouldn't be like, I don't remember,
Like exploited
or monsters or something, like, make them, I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't know. But now, yeah, he kind of tanked all job prospects for like little people in movies. Which is kind of
And then they cast this this girl to play Snow White, and then like she looks in the mirror, and then the evil stepmother is Gal Gadot, who's way hotter than the Snow White.
But I heard that
and it's like
she was
mirror
not
mirror
good.
on the wall.
I heard that she was not a good actor in that movie.
Well, maybe she wasn't, but like the point is, the evil stepmother's not supposed to be as pretty as Snow White, and she's way hotter.
Well, I see what you're saying. Yeah, because it tells her that someone else is fairer than her. Yeah.
Yeah, just hands down.
It's
There's no
it's a thing
comparison.
about jealousy. Yeah, that's one of the story that they don't probably reinforce in this one. It was like being jealous is not a good trait was the original.
Yeah, and I saw a clip from the Rachel Ziegler's The Snow White, and like a lot of people don't like her politics or whatever. But that aside, she gave some interview where she was saying that this version of Snow White isn't a love story.
Oh yeah, I know that was what set people. Yeah, she purposely created divisive things because she was talking about the old story was horrible and outdated because it had like love or something, and it's like, oh my gosh,
this one's better. It's about a woman finding herself.
But they changed the story.
They do. Well, Disney changed the stories a bunch of stuff, like Peter Pan, like the original book Peter Pan.
Oh, that's
Peter Pan's like
really
kind of a
creepy.
dick.
No, it's
Like,
way creepier.
it is
The
creepy.
book is, yeah.
Yeah, and like Captain Hook is actually not like a bad guy. It's Peter Pan who's a dick. He's always like beating up on the Lost
Well, he's
Boys.
also kind of a spirit. He's not a.
Well, they need to go back to the original Brothers Grimm literature.
All of those things are way more disturbing than what we have been shown.
And that's what they got to get back to. Like, kids are becoming snowflakes because they don't, like, realize that fucking, Little Red Riding Hood gets fucking mauled to death by the wolf.
But they reshot a lot of Snow White. So whatever the original version was going to be, we don't know. So they were probably going to cut all the love parts out, but they put it back in, some of it, but not all of it. And apparently, like, the ending is totally horrible. Like, I don't watch any of these movies, I just watch people talk about them. And if I believe what I'm told, like, the ending doesn't even make any sense. Like, I guess she, like, convinced everyone to turn against the queen. Like that would ever happen in real life. She just tells them, like, oh, whatever, man. I don't know.
Or about how the hunter, who changes his mind and doesn't kill her, like, is a creepy, toxic, masculine.
I don't think that happened in this one because I think
But that came up in some of the
That
interviews.
was what she was acting like. Yes, she was basically saying he was a stalker. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Anyways, yes, pro tip: if you're in a high-budget film, maybe don't diss the original source material. Just be an actress or an actor. Can you just do the thing that you're hired to do? I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you. All right, WSAW.com. A man develops yellow nodules on skin after eating 6 to 9 pounds of cheese and butter every day. Now, that's excessive.
All right, hold on. I
That's
just want to throw
excessive.
this out here because I think it's hilarious. As of a day ago, Snow White, the $270 million movie, grossed $69 million in the U.S.
69.
and $145 million worldwide. So that's the bomb.
69, all right.
Yeah.
That's the number you're aiming for.
Talk about losing money. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah. So anyways, if you eat 6 to 9 pounds of cheese and butter every day, I guess that's probably not great for you. And I don't even know how that's physically possible.
6 pounds of cheese and butter. God.
I don't know if it's a mix to add up.
I don't think that even matters. I can't eat 6 pounds of one or the other. Even
I know.
A composite of the two.
This guy has to be a
But if it's
mess.
real butter, like
You wouldn't be able to eat it.
straight
Doesn't
from
matter.
the cow.
Normal people wouldn't be able to eat that much. This guy had to be a masterpiece.
Actually, my the place I live at now, my original landlords, their daughter, when she was like 3, used to grab sticks of butter and eat it like a candy bar. And they used to let her and think it was funny.
Well, this is saying that this developed from the man's carnivore diet. But let me just say that most people's carnivore diet is not like this. You do not eat that many pounds of things. It's almost
Yeah, you can eat
impossible.
that 6 pounds of any one or two things in a day and you probably run into problems. Carrots.
Jeez.
Yeah, because like if you want to lose weight and you want to build muscle mass, it's about your protein intake and obviously your exercise and working out, but it's not a lot of protein. Like it has to be a certain amount in proportion to your body weight.
You have to, you have to use it and burn it.
But it's not 6 fucking pounds.
Yeah, because the protein will get turned into fat if you don't use it.
I mean, if you eat a lot, if you eat excessive protein, it actually turns to sugar and then fat, yeah. But that's a complex process. You have to eat a lot. That's why people chowing down on too much meat is not good. But all right. So, what else we got here? I do like this fake. I mean, it was serious, but it was funny. It was a sarcastic bill. NBCnews.com. Mississippi lawmaker introduces contraception. Wait a minute. I think it's meant to be a different word. I think it's supposed to be conception. Well, anyways, I'm just going to read the headline. Contraception begins at Erection Act. The bill, which is unlikely to pass, would make it unlawful for a person to discharge genetic material without the intent to fertilize an embryo. So this is a joke bill that is basically to...
the lines with the Bible. I think the Bible says...
I know. That's exactly what this is.
To spill your seed over infertile soil.
Yes, that was a joke bill that was... I mean, not a joke. It's making a point. To basically do something against men that they've been doing against women for the abortion stuff. So, of course, that's not going to go anywhere, but it is hilarious that they tried that. And that was in Mississippi, which that's good times. All right.
What else? Breaking news, I guess Elon Musk just went public with his dissent over the tariffs.
Oh, no.
He said he wants to get to a zero tariff agreement between U.S. and Europe, probably because Tesla doesn't sell in the U.S. anymore, and the only hope he has is to sell into Europe.
It's already diving in Europe. They're not going to buy his cars. They're worse over there than what's going on over here. French don't fuck around when it comes to protests, and they've been destroying the shit out of Tesla dealers.
Yeah, they'll cut your head off.
All right. NSA warns smartphone users disable location tracking. That was interesting. That was January. I thought we covered that one. I don't know. I think
that sounds familiar.
I think I might not have updated some of our stuff. All right. What else, guys? I think we're wrapping up on the headlines here. It is Saturday, April 5th, 2025. Email showpackandballs@gmail.com. I think we're going to take a break here. We'll be right back.
Hank Carlson here, proprietor of Baked Beans and Books and Furries Wear Boots. Did you ever wonder how many bites it would take to get to the bottom of a giant vat of baked beans? Well, I tried it once, but all the beans kept collapsing in on the hole I was making. I ate the whole vat. Stop on down to Baked Beans and Books to get yourself a heaping handful of baked beans and peruse the selection of books. While you're at it, stop at Furries Wear Boots. 11111 State Street, Madison, Wisconsin. Baked Beans and Books. When books just aren't enough.
And we're back. It is Saturday, April 5th, 2025. We're talking springtime. We're talking pyramids.
Springtime in a pyramid.
What do you think springtime was like in ancient Egypt?
I don't know.
Well, we all know it wasn't like desert back then, right?
It actually, an ocean at one point.
It was lush and green.
That was like back that was like 10,000 years ago, which they say was not when the pyramids were built.
Yeah, what do they say that human civilization, or like that their oldest civilization, that humans were only civilized like back in ancient Babylon, or
I don't know, some areas where they...
Yeah. But that goes back how many years? I mean, the things that we're finding out...
Oh, yeah, it keeps getting pushed
suggests
back.
that it's
go back
farther
a step.
back. Yeah.
All right. We got some emails, and I'm no cocktail today, but I am drinking a, let's see, Mongoose has donated 3 Sheep's Rebel Kent Amber Ale.
What do you think?
I'm going to open and find out, but I was drinking Samuel Smith's Imperial Stout. And if you're looking at the, look up Yorkshire Squares, Stone. Oh, shit. This thing's quite frothy.
Oh, crap.
Yep.
Temperature differential. Holy shit, that's some head.
Yeah, that's a lot of head.
She gives some good head.
Got about 60% head there, dude.
Yeah, I just opened that. That was a cold can, and it just opened like someone had shaken it. So I don't know, Mongoose.
Is that the best pickup line you can give to a female bartender?
No.
What would you suggest? I mean,
about like head on a beer.
Muskrat, have you ever dated a bartender?
I've dated people that have been bartenders, but I've never picked up a bartender.
Okay, so I think
dated 2
Dub Stench
bartenders.
and I have both dated bartenders. And I think... I mean, I like that pickup line.
Which
I
one?
think it's played.
I didn't
that.
use it. I didn't use it.
Repeat that line.
Well, okay, I'll try to say this as sexy as I can.
Yes.
That's some really great head. You give some really great head there.
Wow, you really give some good head there, little lady.
Okay, no.
That might be a little too forward. But
Yeah,
maybe
no, I
it
don't
might
think
work.
you can pick up 8 bartenders.
Not as
for that
bad
line.
as like
Might work.
the gay bar is like, can I push in your stool?
Ah, jeez.
No, if you're trying to pick up a bartender, I think anything to do with like head on a beer, that's all been way played. You find something new.
All right. Emails. We got a couple here. No, I haven't heard from... Okay, so Billy Boy. But I don't remember if this is the... And again, I haven't looked...
Wait, there's Billy Boy imposters now?
Well,
Like copycat Billy Boys?
Well, I can't remember if the guy, because it's been so long, is that the name that they went by? Second of all, I'd have to compare the email address to see if it was the exact same. Because anyone can sign the name. I read what they signed their name as, not the email address, obviously, because that would be bad. And so I haven't looked back, because remember, I delete most.
Dude, maybe we should do an episode
It
with
could
like
be an
the
imposter.
greatest emails of all time.
It could be an imposter.
But you know what? Billy Boy's emails would not be on that list because, dude, I hate it when this fucker emails.
Well, here's what
Wait,
he's
why?
got to
Am
say.
I missing something here?
Well, we'd have to go back and look
Okay,
at the archives.
The old archives.
I've only started saving the emails. Like, okay, the time is drawing near. I hope everyone is prepared to meet the one. The one.
Get fucked.
Billy Boy, we need to have you on the show. Mongoose wants to talk to you. All right. Joseph writes, you should do a show on the imminent magnetic polar shift.
Where's all about that? I'm actually reading a book about exactly that.
You know how this connects to the what's that guy's name? The Coral Castle guy. What was his name? Always forget.
You interviewed him,
No, the Coral Castle guy himself, the actual Coral Castle guy.
Glenn.
The guy that made the Coral Castle.
Isn't his name Glenn?
I don't think so. No.
Why does that name in my head?
Anyways,
Yeah.
he thought that there was a 21,000 year cycle. Now, this is based on things that were found in his in the Coral Castle, and it's Edward
Lee Skellnan. Yes.
Lee Skellnan.
Duh. I mean,
So-
you interviewed a guy that
I know,
talked
I know.
extensively about
So-
Edward Lee Skellnan.
Yes. Edward Lee Skellnan. He said on this rock there was this 21,000 or something. It was written in this orbs, and someone theorizes that this is the Earth doing orbits. And so the theory goes, and he actually modeled it out. Someone modeled out the Earth doing however many orbits according to how Ed Leedskalnin thought that the Earth was doing it. And what he thinks is this is when the Earth magnetic pole flips, and then it causes the Earth to move. When the poles align to the sun, it pushes the Earth back out. So that would be a catastrophic event to our whole civilization because we'd be pulled or moved further or closer to the sun, depending on how the magnetic pole shift.
So there's a book I'm reading. There's a book called Death by Ice, Not by Fire, and it talks about how quickly this whole thing happens. The way it talks is like the iron core in the Earth starts to slow down with its rotation, and then like you got the other layers going up to the surface, and they kind of move in unison with it. Well, they'll crack loose because the speeds change. So then basically the surface of the planet will be like break free from the rotation of the iron core.
That's also something.
So that causes, because we're moving like we're spinning 800 miles an hour.
Where we just rotate.
So they'll like stop for a second. So that causes like everybody gets smashed into stuff unless you're standing in the field. But then you get your big slosh of the oceans, which gives you floods all over the place.
This is why I'm going to surf.
They talk about how that, I can't remember the cadence they're talking about, but this whole thing would happen within a few hours.
Yeah, but it would just be very few survivors.
Yeah, your only way of surviving is like if you stand in the field or whatnot. And it's not like a full 180 reversal. It's like almost like a 90 degree shift.
Telling you, man.
But also the continents will move too because the crust breaks free.
That's not good.
It's gonna be great.
I think like Antarctica could be Atlantis.
Hey, Antarctica used to have it's a whole continent under that ice.
What was the movie where Woody Harrelson played the eccentric doomsayer
Titanic.
in the Yellowstone area, and then like the cataclysm hit and the volcano blew up, and like he was like yelling, and then he got fried. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know.
Is that Cool Runnings? Sister
Come
Act?
on. Sister Act. I want to be that guy though. I want to be yelling about the end of the world and then just get like.
And that was Woody Allen?
Not Woody Allen.
I mean,
Woody Harrelson.
But it seems like a plausible kind of like thing to happen too, because what's going to survive if that all plays out like that? Our concrete buildings and stuff are going to be
it's
dust.
gone destroyed.
The only thing that's really going to be around it, like stone structures. Like
that's
pyramids.
That's why they did it.
Yeah, we made made this with like 3-ton blocks because they don't move very easily. But yeah, anything like any of our history documentation.
Goodbye to the Empire State's Building.
On paper or digital. Well, that's all
gone.
It's gone. Like there'll be no
But
hints that we were even here.
Didn't we send a time capsule up in a Cadillac that Elon Musk flew up?
No, he flew a dead hooker in the trunk and sent it off into space, which is genius, by the way.
Yeah. So yeah, I think Epstein probably.
That'll all come crashing down. All of that
launched
stuff.
a bunch of dead people out there too.
No, I was supposed to do like an orbit around Mars or something. I think.
No, it's on Earth.
The
car.
The car.
Yeah, it'll fall.
It's supposed to be playing Space Oddity by David Bowie, the car stereo.
Yeah, we just got to launch all our secrets out into space before this happens.
Yeah. All right, well, that was the headlines. Or that was the emails. Email the show, backandsomebolts@gmail.com, backandsomebolts@gmail.com. All right. Well, speaking about ancient civilizations and the legacy of the pyramids, which continue to give up secrets slowly, ever so slowly, we've got a new one with SAR's radar scans that have apparently shown massive structures under the ground of the central pyramid. I don't know what I should probably find out what that central pyramid is called. But the point is, Mongoose thought this would be a very interesting thing to discuss because
we had nothing else to talk about.
There's also no defending if this ever got proven, which I know there's a lot of people saying it's not real, yada, yada. If this ever got shown to be true, there's no way the Egyptologists could say it was from our idea of what we call the Egyptologists that supposedly built the pyramids.
Well, they've got a lot of like firming up on this stuff because if you look at the actual scans, the radar scans they did, like you get like very vague that there's something there. It's not very detailed or sharp image, but they had AI like interpret it, in these pillars and these caverns. That may not be right, because believe
Maybe
it or not,
not.
AI isn't always
No,
correct.
maybe not. But
Well, let's suspend disbelief for a moment, and let's take a trip back to 2022,
dun, dun,
when
dun.
we are all getting our COVID shots and getting ourselves out of the pandemic, getting back to reality. In 2022, okay, there were some researchers from Italy's University of Pisa and Scotland's University of Strathclyde. They conducted a groundbreaking study using synthetic aperture radar Doppler tomography, what's called, for short, SAR, SAR.
SAR.
Not SARS.
Not SARS.
SAR.
Scabs.
They use this to explore the subsurface of Egypt's Great Pyramid of Giza, or pyramids. There's a few of them, right? We're talking about the middle one, I guess. But it was an innovative approach.
Khafre.
Yeah,
That's what it
so this approach unveiled remarkable insights into the pyramid's internal and underground structures. Now, SAR, again, which stands for Synthetic Aperture Radar Doppler Tomography. It's a technique that analyzes micro movements within structures. The method allows researchers to achieve high-resolution three-dimensional imaging, in this case of the Great Pyramid's interior, revealing details previously inaccessible through traditional archaeological methods. So this technology is used in several other things, I guess, contexts in modern modern day. For instance, obviously, we talked about underground structures. We'll get more into that, like with the pyramids, but they're using it for like enhanced monitoring of land deformation and geohazards. They've used it, to detect subtle ground deformation. It helps scientists monitor seismic activity, volcanic unrest, land subsidence with improved precision. Okay. Another application, advanced oceanography and marine dynamics, high-resolution insights into ocean dynamics, air-sea interactions, wave patterns, critical for climate and environmental studies. They're using it for urban infrastructure health assessments. The tomography has been applied to precisely monitor infrastructure health in urban areas, tracking structural integrity, subsidence, and deformation over time, thus supporting urban planning and maintenance decisions, as well as forest and ecosystem analysis. They can provide precise 3D mapping of forest structures and ecosystems, offering new insights into biomass estimation, carbon stock assessments, and biodiversity monitoring. So now recently, these continued studies using this technology have unveiled the identification of previously unknown chambers and passageways within the Great Pyramid. These findings suggest a more complex internal architecture than was previously understood, offering new perspectives on the pyramid's construction and purpose. And beyond the internal chambers that they were studying, this also indicates the presence of subsurface features extending far below the pyramid. And I've heard reports that these things extend, for instance, shafts and coils far below, up to like 2 miles? Like, do you guys know the actual estimates of how far they've gone? Like, it's something like 2 miles below the surface of the pyramids.
I know it was deep, but 2 miles sounds a little...
Vertical shafts, interconnected rooms, hinting at the possibility of an extensive underground network that could redefine our understanding of the site's layout. Newly discovered subterranean features correlate with descriptions found in ancient Egyptian texts and legends, such as the fabled halls of Amenti. This alignment suggests that these myths may have a basis in physical structures, bridging the gap between historical records and archaeological evidence. Now, let's take a minute and talk about some of these mythical correlations, right, Muskrat? So, first of all, the Egyptian halls of Amenti.
Dun, dun, dun.
This is rooted in ancient mythology and depicted prominently in texts like the Book of the Dead, the Egyptian Book of the Dead, I believe. They represent a mystical underworld dimension overseen by the god Osiris, believed to be realms where souls undergo judgment and purification after death. The halls symbolize transformative spiritual journeys toward immortality. Souls traverse through various gates, confronting tests and divine entities before reaching eternal peace or reincarnation. The halls of Amenti encapsulate ancient Egyptian beliefs about morality, cosmic balance, which they call Ma'at. apostrophe A-T is Egyptian, I don't know. And the cyclical nature of existence, serving as a metaphorical bridge between mortal life and the divine, eternal consciousness within Egyptian spiritual cosmology.
As far as the depth, they're talking 6,500 feet. Not
So
miles.
that's like a mile and a half. Almost, like a mile and a quarter. So 5,280 feet in a mile. So yeah, more than a mile beneath the surface. That's actually insane.
Yeah, it is. That is very insane.
And I've heard that they found evidence of coils. And at one point, and I don't have any like factual, thing to back this up, but I heard that there's a theory that beneath the pyramids there were pools of mercury back in the day.
They did find things like that. There's also that one. What was that one thing in China where I can't remember what it's called, but there's all the stone soldiers, like hundreds of them.
Terracotta.
There's supposed to be like some like kind of model of the city from back then, and like there's liquid mercury in that thing too.
Yeah, the Terracotta Army.
So what do you guys think? If this is true, and there are shafts that go far beyond the surface of the pyramids, far below the chambers that they've uncovered physically in archaeological expeditions, and that there are coils in these shafts that extend deep into the depths of the earth, and that perhaps there were mercury pools. What do you think this may have been used for?
Well, the long-standing theory by the dissident scientists that say that there was some sort of machine, an ancient machine of some sort. This would, play into that for sure. Like, this should be easy to find if someone just does some, excavation, but they're not going to do that.
The government's real.
They're not going to do that because you know how this place is.
Well, plus you go digging under this thing and then you'll collapse.
Well,
it,
no, in theory, the pyramids are on bedrock. Like, if you find bedrock, that's one thing, right? But if you have structures like this that far into the ground,
they also found I want to say like a cauldron, but like some kind of like a room with something like that. But it was made out of like pink granite, which is kind of a big deal stone. You wouldn't just use that for everyday building. And but I know that coil thing you're talking about. If you're talking about there's a cylinder shaft and the coil goes around it.
Yeah.
Something I was looking at, we're saying that those are like that's like a walkway to walk down.
Well, it might be.
It's not a
yeah.
metal coil.
The thing is that the people that are coming out against this are saying this is all bullshit. But the SAR has been used to scan known underground structures and giving very realistic results to what we know is actually there. So it's not like this technology can't find stuff.
Right.
And you would think they'd only have to do a little bit of an excavation to find out if there's some massive structure underneath the pyramid, right? But I also saw a really cool drawing, kind of for a joke, but what if this was true? What if the pyramids are the top of giant obelisks that are just like under the ground?
Yeah, I
I
saw
also
that
said that the pyramid itself, like, so all shit's buried is like the power generating portion of it, and the pyramid at the top is like the point of a very huge obelisk.
That would be funny. That would be funny.
They're saying they pump water or something underneath it, and it would fill these other chambers and cause some sort of pressure that would make it like start vibrating.
Well, resonance is, resonant frequencies and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's interesting because there is actually a lot of research into the geometrical shapes of pyramids and the healing properties that are associated with them. For instance, I think in the 1950s they ran several experiments where they would take razor blades that were dull, right? Like the type you would shave with or something like that. They could put those in a pyramid type structure and introduce certain energies to it, and it would sharpen the blades.
That's something that I've heard in the past. Yeah. Now, of the skeptics will say that it was not true, but those were actually things that should be documented. So I don't know. Should be easy to look at.
Well, does the shape of the pyramid, because people don't always talk about this, like it's not necessarily like it's not flat sides. Like they're slightly concave, and you don't see it until those summer and winter solstices. that there's like it's not like with a 4-sided, it's actually 8-sided.
Really?
Like if you're looking above at one side of this pyramid,
The
it's actually
Egyptian
gonna
ones?
yeah, it'd be concave just slightly, but you don't see it until the solstice because of the way the sun lays the shadow down.
Interesting.
And furthermore, the ancient structures in South America, and I forget exactly where, but I think this was on an Ancient Aliens episode, or I don't know, we had talked about this at one point, but there was a researcher that indicated that, was this in Peru or maybe remnants of the Incan civilization, where they had the pyramid-type structures in South America, but they found that those structures extended far below ground and that they were far larger than just that structure. Like there was a subterranean, structure below the pyramid that extended out. That it was a large area, and there were several
In the
lagoons and
Central
things like
American
that.
ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they usually go back to a water, underground water source. So some people think that's what all of these things have in common, is there's some water to add
parts
to
are
whatever.
buried, too, like Easter Island, those statues. Everybody thought
Yes.
just head sticking out forever. It's a whole body.
That is hilarious, because that is something that when they actually started digging, they found full bodies. And there's a difference between the ones that are older, which were made of extremely hard stone, versus the ones that were made newer, which are lava rock. But the old ones are basalt, which is one of the hardest things to just
It was where you
carve.
like evidence of like a giant flood, because that's all that mud and shit that buries everything. We're just looking at the tips of shit that's poking out right now.
Well, yeah, or some people think they were purposely buried to hide it, because all the intricate carvings, when they unburied them, are very similar to Göbekli Tepe. So there's like animals and things on
Easter
them.
Island statues?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I don't know, they're hiding them because that's just like where that'd be like eye level if you were walking by it. Right?
Yeah, but if you bury up all that stuff, it's going to last longer. It won't get eroded. I'm just saying that's
True.
one theory.
But you
That's
wouldn't
one theory.
you wouldn't write that stuff on the head if it thinks super tall, and we can.
Well, no, I'm
read
just
that.
saying they covered up all the stuff that was like intricate. So it's just weird, and it lines up to Göbekli Tepe with the same kind of animals. It's just very weird signals around the world.
Yeah, I don't understand how you can just completely refute any discussion of this when they're using this SAR technology and just say that it's all bullshit. But that's what they're doing right now.
Of course.
Well, people are jumping, like, you see the nice like drawings of what these pillars and what they think it is.
Yeah, the artist rendition.
Everything looks super cool. But I mean, like, this is what the actual radar scan looks like.
Yeah, but that still
crazy.
looks like
That's
something.
there's something there.
Is that something we can put on our website for our viewers, Muskrat?
We could.
The website that doesn't exist?
Hey, it's there. I just don't have to update it
Nobody ever
much.
goes to it.
We got to start putting show notes out there.
Right, but people are taking
We
that.
got to
like,
take a break from our OnlyFans accounts
I know.
and start dedicating time to
Updating
the
it.
show notes, yeah.
I'll never take a break. But no, they're like, they're interpreting like, these readings into like, they use AI to like kind of draw that out.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
and those are the coils you're talking about. Those are supposed to be hallways to walk down, but there's more to come on that. They got to do a little more. There's definitely something there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the problem is that when it comes to archaeology in Egypt, it's very difficult to get the permits and be able to go and excavate because of the Egyptian government. And there's
And
a
that one guy.
Yeah, there's a government. He's the head Egyptian archaeologist. His name is Zahi Hawass. And I don't know how old he is now, but he's been around for decades. Okay, so look, in the year 2000, when we reached the new millennium, I remember on Coast to Coast AM, Art Bell was talking with, I think it was Richard Hoagland at the time, and they were talking about how there was a plan to put a golden capstone on the main pyramid of Giza.
Correct.
And Zahi Hawass and the Egyptian government, I think, blocked it. But that's interesting.
And there was speculation.
Yeah, it's a very strange situation because, first of all, why do you want to put a symbolic golden capstone on the pyramid? So like, it conjures images of secret societies and like shadow governments, whatever. But so Zahi Hawass, like, there's a lot of skeptics, right?
Yeah.
I mean, as soon as this report came out in 2025, and it's all based largely on research that began in that and is documented in that 2022 report that we mentioned early on. But the Egyptian government and Zahi Hawass came out and said, and by the way, he's also the former Minister of Tourism and Antiquities.
Yes.
He said that claims of an underground city were completely wrong and has no scientific basis. And that was reported in Aram Online, I think, which is some publication in Egypt.
He's very defensive about all things.
Yeah, immediately, in conjunction with that, Snopes had a write-up entitled "No Credible Evidence Supports Claims of Vast Underground Structures Found Beneath Egyptian Pyramids."
Wow.
And the author of that article indicated that this appears to be a spin on already questionable research conducted in 2022 that was subsequently embellished by a variety of right-wing content creators like conspiracy website InfoWars contributor Greg Reese, who publishes the Reese Report, listed as a source for many of the claims pertaining to this topic. InfoWars founder and well-known conspiracy theorist Alex Jones shared a version of the same claim on X at one point. And then one of the leading research, or I guess academic experts in the field, Lawrence Conyers, who works for the University of Denver and is a professor of archaeology or is part of that department, he told the Daily Mail that it is not possible for the technology, the SAR technology, to penetrate that deeply into the ground. And he said the idea of an underground city is a huge exaggeration.
Well, the data's there, so
the
whatever that
the
is.
city thing is an exaggeration at this point. Like,
Yeah, the city.
they
No
don't
one's
know.
saying it's a city.
Well, some people are. They're running. They're
Sure,
taking
but
running,
that's not what the people that found it are saying.
Really, we shouldn't even be saying, like, speculate at all this point. There's something under there, yes.
Yeah, and
But-
let's find out. Let's
Yeah.
do a little bit of a dig.
Now, Greg Reese was the guy who published that original report on InfoWars. I think they have several, correspondence or whatever. That also begs, though, it brings up, this is something we didn't cover in our stories, but back in, early March, one of the InfoWars reporters, his name was Jamie White. He was 36 years old. He was murdered in a parking lot.
Wait, who? What? For what?
He was a reporter for InfoWars. His name was Jamie White. He was found lying on the ground in a parking lot in Texas.
Okay.
And to my knowledge, they never found who killed him.
But what was he doing stories on?
Just InfoWars stuff, which is, of course, right-wing conspiracy theory
Lesbian
website.
frogs.
Lesbian frogs.
Now, I don't believe he had anything to do with this story, but the fact that he worked for that publication and then he got murdered is just interesting because it sounds like just another government-sponsored hit. I don't know. Maybe that's conspiratorial, but, again, I always think back to...
I'd have to see what he was studying.
I always think back to Eugene Malov, who was the pioneering researcher of cold fusion who got murdered in his driveway.
But that's the connection there. Cold fusion is a threat to... Yeah, so we'd have to see what this guy was even... I don't know what the guy was working on.
I mean, that's almost worthy of another podcast topic, but, that Eugene Malov, if he had figured out cold fusion, and it sounded like he was on the verge, that would have been free energy for everyone.
Well, the funny thing is we've basically moved on. So low-energy nuclear reaction, LENR, is what now is being studied. And so they don't call it cold fusion. They call it that. And it's pretty much, like I don't know how to say it, because... There's a lot of research and they're getting results. Is it 100% like reproducible? I don't know, but people all over the globe running these experiments, taking from the cold fusion people from the 80s, they're getting results. They're getting things happening. So it's pretty much, now maybe he had some really big secret. He knew how to really do it right, and then they took him out.
My understanding is he was on the verge of a breakthrough that would have changed the course of human history. But
yeah, it's possible.
But you bring up an interesting point. Is if you are a researcher and you're on the verge of something, just groundbreaking like that, put the personal accolades aside. And I'm not saying that Eugene Malov was motivated by those things, but if your life hangs in the balance, they will try to silence you. It almost makes sense that if you're put in that position to get that information out before it blows up to as many people across the world and as many other researchers as you can, so that it's decentralized, so that if they kill you, they can't kill everyone.
If they can, yeah. If you can, yeah.
I don't know how feasible that is, but like it just seems like that's where we're at. Is like you cannot be a person with that much knowledge. Look what happened to Tesla.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right.
Or like Bob Lazar intentionally put himself in the public spotlight so people would notice if he turned up missing.
That's true. And then he had a whole big story blow up, and maybe that saved his life.
Of course, now he constantly gets like raided by the.
He did get raided recently in the pandemic years.
Yeah, and a lot of his friends were kind of paying the price too. Like he said, a lot of his friends were getting severe IRS audits and weird shit like that shouldn't have popped up. Like, fine, we can't mess with you. We'll just mess with your friends and family.
Yeah, that's what happens with
family.
public. That's what happens with public figures. I mean, you got randos that do that kind of shit. Different but similar to the state-sponsored swatting, which wasn't called swatting, where they just took you out.
Like Ruby Ridge?
Ruby Ridge was one that wouldn't have been in that same line. That was a little bit of a different issue, where they supposedly had an issue with someone. I don't remember what the original issue was, and showed up and escalated too much. The swatting event I'm talking about is like in, what was it, Chicago, where they took out the what was his name? Fred Hampton? Was that Chicago? Where they basically just fucking go in and just shoot everyone up. And then Ruby Ridge was, I don't remember what the incident was, the impetus for it. But then they just escalated until it got too crazy. And then
they got some really great documentaries about Ruby Ridge, and I don't remember the guy. I'd have to look at the guy's name. Was it Wheeler, or it started with a W, his last name? But he worked he was ex-military, and I think he had some like ins with the government, but he decided he wanted to go off the grid. So he bought land in, where was it, Colorado?
Yeah. No, I thought it was Washington or Oregon. Or something.
Yeah, something like that. I don't remember exactly where, but he didn't get along with his neighbors. His neighbors reported him. The ATF got a hold of it. Well, I don't know. I don't think he was doing anything illegal other than, like, he pissed off his neighbors and he was a gun nut and he didn't want anything. He wanted to be completely off grid. So one day he comes walking up to his property.
Idaho. It was Idaho.
Yeah, and he finds that there are federal agents like lying in wait for him. Yeah. So he runs back to his house and he barricades himself in there with his family. And the next thing you know, like, they're calling in more feds and they're taking shots. Like, they ended up murdering his wife. His wife had their young child in her arms. She came to the door and they fucking killed her. And he had to drag him in. His kids got killed. I think one of the first people that killed was one of his like teenage sons.
That's what I thought. I thought it was that first. I thought that was the first thing. Yeah.
I think his entire family died except for him. I think they took him, didn't they?
Maybe. I think there was a big lawsuit about it. I mean, it went on for years.
But it's heartbreaking because you talk about the land of the free. You should have the ability to go off grid if you want to. If you own the land.
Yeah, I don't remember what the original gripe was. So that I'd have to look up. But surveillance operation, shot Weaver's dog. Oh, the dog was the first casualty, I guess.
Yeah. Yep.
It was Weaver's dog. Then pointed his rifle at his 14-year-old son, who was armed. Samuel fired back at the marshals, supposedly, and was shot in the back.
Jesus.
How was he shot in the back if he shot at the marshals?
Probably tried to run away and they shot him. But
you shoot someone and run?
Fucking
or
cowards.
Were you running and got shot and you supposedly shot at them? But I don't remember what the exact reason was why all of this came. I know you said that the neighbors, but I there was something that caused them to come. I don't remember, and I can't find it in this.
It's very interesting. I mean, the parallels to Waco.
Well, yeah, those were both basically situations where they were trying to. Well, with Waco, I know a little bit more about because of the compound and the hoarding of guns. There was more of like a, hey, we want to, whatever the hell their complaint was with the ATF. I don't remember Ruby Ridge, but so that's the crackdown on right wing people. The Fred Hamptons of the world are the left wing side, where they're basically just doing they were doing community stuff to improve the
like outreach,
Black Panthers in Chicago. And they just went in. They had a guy, an informant, drug him, and then he was basically passed out when they did this raid. Just shot up the place. Took him out. Just an assassination attempt. So yeah, this is so when people say the land of the free, I mean, it really depends. All the people that talk about these other countries, we have more people incarcerated than any other, country, and not even by population. It's just raw numbers.
Yeah, and you know what? Property taxes are bullshit. Like, dude, if you buy property, you should just own it outright.
I think they should allow for a certain amount of land to be tax-free for property. And then if you're hoarding land, yes, you should pay property tax.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. That's what they should do. Yep.
But it's like you're always beholden to the government.
Yeah, the local municipalities.
There's nowhere you can go to get away from the government.
Yeah. Well, we should do a whole show on money because there's actually a good documentary I just watched recently about how the myth on money and debt and how they always make it seem like we have this debt as a problem, but really for a government, you can't go bankrupt. The whole point of creating money and all this stuff is to get people to do shit like that. So imposing taxes is to get people that would not normally want to do something for the government to have to do something. So it was quite an eye-opening thing, because if you have a whole bunch of people living in your society and they can take care of themselves with farming and stuff, and then you say, hey, we want this road to be built, and they're like, I don't really need that road. I'm just taking care of my pigs and my plants. And they're like, well, okay, but here's the deal. All that stuff you're living on, well, you actually have to pay us like $1,000 or something. And how do you get that money unless you go build this road for us?
And I wonder how much of that is just like a means for the government to track you, because there is a large demographic of our society that does not bother to do their taxes. Like in inner cities and stuff.
Maybe.
And they get welfare, so they're tracked that way, right?
They probably do their taxes then, I would guess.
What if you're just subsisting off the land and you own the land and you just want to get completely off grid? You still have to fucking pay property
the taxes. Yes, to the municipality. Because the municipality, that's how they make their money. The locals. Yeah.
Unless you annex yourself from the U.S. And just,
Yeah, you could declare a sovereign nation. Then you're going to end up in a Ruby Ridge or a Waco situation.
Well, the Republic of Texas tried to do that back in the 90s, where they had, and there's a documentary about that too, is very interesting, but they tried to secede from the United States. It was just a small demographic of people that had land. They booby-trapped the perimeter, and they were heavily armed. And I remember the name of like one of their top guys, because he became kind of a folk hero for like the anti-government people in Texas. His name was, I think, Mark Madsen. But like he was known, I think he was ex-military. He was very good with guns. And he was, kind of like one of their chief guys for like securing the perimeter. But like they ended up assassinating him before they took down the whole thing and arrested everybody.
Well, in that vein, Winneconne seceded from the United States as well.
Winneconne, Wisconsin?
And for like a brief period of time. They actually celebrated annually, I believe.
When did that happen?
That was, let me see, Winneconne secede from, was it the Union or Wisconsin? I don't know. They celebrated, it was like a couple days. 50 years ago, a small town made plans to secede. It couldn't have been that early. That recently? Oh, 1967. It was name being inadvertently left off the official Wisconsin roadmap. A secret committee formulated a plan to set up toll gates on local roads and began annexation of nearby communities to form a sovereign state of Winneconne. So there you go. That didn't last long, though.
So not just Winneconne, but there's other incidences of secession in the United States. This is very interesting. So the island of Nantucket attempted to secede from Massachusetts 3 times in the 20th century. In 1937, it was over public utility rates. In 57, it was over state ownership of passenger ferry boats.
Wow.
And in 77, over redistricting that would have diluted their representation in Congress. There was an attempt by Staten Island to break away from New York City in the late 1980s and early 1990s. Of course, this is like breaking away from their state, so it's not really the same thing.
Well, if you break away from the state, then you really break away from the country.
You could become a state within a state.
Yeah.
What if it's easier to like become your own state or
Yeah, what's the mechanism for a subsection of your state to become its own state? I
yeah, some
wonder.
paperwork somewhere to fill out? You go out to your city hall and they got the forms right there.
Well, I mean, I guess this list I'm looking at, there are successful like breaks from municipalities. I think that happens all the time.
Like a city.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
But-
I don't know how earth-shattering this stuff is. I like the list includes like San Fernando Valley lost a vote to separate from L.A. in 2002. Killington, Vermont voted twice in 2005 and 2006 to join New Hampshire. So the municipality in
funny.
Vermont tried to join New Hampshire. They failed. Calabash, North Carolina voted to secede from the town in 1998 after receiving permission for a referendum on the issue from the state of North Carolina.
Did they succeed?
I think they did, actually.
Oh, wow. There you go. Successful.
Yeah.
Successful.
There we go.
Okay, all right. State secession. Here we go. Yeah, this is what I was looking for. Alaska. In November 2006, the Alaska Supreme Court held in the case Kohlhaas versus State that secession was illegal and refused to permit an initiative to be presented to the people of Alaska for a vote. The Alaskan Independence Party remains a factor in the state politics, but they got shot down. California secession, known as Calexit, was discussed in 2010. And in 2015, a political action committee called Yes California Independence Committee formed to advocate California's independence from the United States.
Oh, yeah.
That obviously didn't work
Of
out.
all the states that would be the most likely to separate and succeed, I would think Alaska would be it.
Or Delaware.
How much resources do you think we'd put in to re-invading Alaska if they actually like wanted to secede from us?
I don't think anybody really cared. People go to Wyoming.
If you want Alaska to secede, you got to get Russia involved.
Well, but Canada, they could become part of Canada.
Well, you're right. Canada hates us right now. But no, I mean, like the distance between Russia and Alaska is like
Yeah, but it's Siberia. No one's over there. It's a rough part of the world, man. You don't want to.
yeah, they're hardcore, man.
Kamchatka.
Hey, the Eskimos.
For those Risk fans out there, Kamchatka.
Okay, so just to round this up, Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, Montana, New Hampshire, Oregon. I got to make sure I pronounce that right. Oregon. South Carolina, obviously Texas, Vermont, all tried to secede from the United States at one point.
Well, Florida should just go be on their own. Florida should just be Florida. The United State of Florida. They can have their own little thing. The penis of America will be no more.
America's dong.
Well, I would like to see more federal stuff passed down to the states. And then I would like to see the federal government subsidize people's relocation to states that align with their ideological views.
They're not going to subsidize people's moves. It's a
No,
good pipe
but
dream,
like,
though.
I mean, if you, like, for instance, there's a house nearby that has a sign in the front yard that says, "We are not okay with an upside-down American flag."
Distress.
Okay, if you're thinking that our nation is so broken, how is that such a bad idea? Because
But the federal government's never going to subsidize your move to some other state.
no, but I just wonder if maybe we would be healthier if people had more like affiliation with people that align with their ideological views, and then maybe like once you're all in your little pockets and echo chambers, then we can start like, and again,
I don't think that's
the
gonna help.
catalyst for that has to be that a lot of these issues lie with the states.
I don't think that's going to help. But Wisconsin's a mixed state, so that really isn't a
Yeah,
good
my point
example.
is unmix it.
Unmix it? How would you unmix it?
Well, if you're liberal, move to a liberal state. If you're
But
a conservative,
Wisconsin's a
move to a
mix.
conservative.
That's the thing. And Wisconsin's the birthplace of the progressive movement.
So turn Delaware
right.
into a mixed, liberal state.
The problem, it comes back to this idea of a fucking two-party system, okay? So you're
But there
forced...
isn't a two-party system. We've just made it that way.
Yeah, we made it that way.
Constitution kind of
and
made
you're
it.
forced to settle like where you believe with one or two things, like and very strongly, and that aligns with one party, and then you're forced to subconsciously align with the rest of that.
I actually don't think that's. I don't think that's true. Most people identify as independents nowadays. So even though they have to choose one of the two dumb shits, they don't actually agree with most of the shit that's being presented. So I'm an independent, but I have really no choice.
Well, I'm an independent too, but maybe you're right. Maybe the fact that most states require you to register.
Well, that, but
maybe like the next step has to be we need to get rid of statewide political party registration.
That's true, but we need, because our system inadvertently created two-party system because of the winner take all. That's what they probably didn't really foresee. And proportional representation came after the United States was formed. So the European countries all got the benefit of proportional representation. We didn't. We need to amend the Constitution to get something like that. So we're kind of fucked. Ranked choice voting is the in-between state that some states have done, but it's like only a few, right?
Yeah. Now, my thinking on ranked choice voting has evolved. I still think it's a good idea. But when you get to a political kind of environment where you don't have this two-party system and you got something more akin to what they have in like the UK where you have multiple parties, I realize now that these parties then, the winners are going to form coalitions and you end up with the same pile of shit.
Yeah. It's easy to co-opt.
Yeah.
All right, we need to have a whole other, because duopoly, oligopoly, one of our earliest episodes.
Yeah, one of the great ones.
We need to have another, we have to have a revisit of that. We've kind of deviated from our pyramids talk, but we covered it, and it is the spring check-in. The spring check-in.
That's right, lots to cover.
2025, it is Saturday, April 5th, 2025. Any last thoughts?
We didn't get into ancient Egyptian politics. That's what we were segueing into. No,
well, King Tut was backstabbed. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, remember to keep packing those bolts.
Didn't he kill his like family members?
No, they got there's some shenanigans going on.
No, he got in trouble for cyberbullying teenagers.
Keep packing those bolts. Till next time. See ya.
Real goat.